Okay, guys. So now we're gonna be discussing multiplying and dividing decimals. See if I could straighten up this stuff. I don't know. I'm gonna get better at this one day. But not today. Okay. So um yep. So what I love about multiplying decimals is, as I mentioned in my notes, I don't know if you guys could see that when multiplying decimals, treat them like whole numbers, right? Convert your decimal to a whole number or integer by starting from the decimal point and going right until you can't go anymore. Okay? And when you find the product of your whole numbers or your integers, right? And I mentioned integers because whole numbers are just positives and integers are negative and positive whole numbers, right? You move the decimal back starting from right and go left according to the total numbers of time you move the point. Now, what does all of that fancy stuff mean? So let me demonstrate. So you're asked to find the product of I'm going to pick some simple ones just for demonstration. 0.6.4 and 0.3, right? And we would actually say this as 6 4/10, and this is just 3/10, right? So, I'm advising, listen, treat them like whole numbers, right? So if I look at 6.4, I would have to go one decimal place for it to become a whole number. So I call that 1 dp, as I mentioned in the notes, decimal place, right? Let me just put a little key here, decimal place, dp, right? So one decimal place was, and I'll get 64. And then for 3/10, I move to the right one decimal place, also 1 dp, and that gives me a total of 2 decimal places, right? So the movement happened as, when I say when you're moving back, move back according to the total number of times. Silly email. The total number of times you move the point before you multiply on all decimal factors. All right. So this is my first factor. This is my second factor. I move this one time. I move it one time. So I move it a total of 2 times. So when I'm finished finding my product of 64 and 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 6 is 18. 18 and 1 is 19. Right now I'm gonna move it back from the right end. I'm gonna move it back left 2 places, and this is 1.92. Okay, so if you multiply 6.4 times 0.3, you will get a product of 1.92, right? As you see, just treat them like whole numbers. Now, remember, the rules still apply for so let's do a bigger one. Let's do one more for rules of science. That's what I was getting into. So let's try, this was number 1 in your text. Let's try number 4. So number 4 wants you to multiply, find a product of 2 and 64 hundredths times 3 hundredths, right? So again, I am not working with decimals. I'm sorry, especially if you're not allowed to use a calculator. So here it's 2 places before I can get to make it a whole number, 2 dp, right? And here is another 2 places, another 2 dp before I can get it. And I notice that my total dp's are 4 dp. So when I find my product of 264 and 3, I will move it back 4 decimal places, right? So here we go. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 3 is 18 and 1 is 19. 6 and 1 is 7. So that's 792. Now I got to move back 4 places, right? So 1, 2, 3. And I'm so glad I picked this example because now we see we only have 3 digits, but we have to move 4 places. So what do we put here? a 0 as a placeholder. Exactly. You guessed it correctly. So my answer here is 0.0792. I should check that because you know, guys, my multiplication game off the cuff is not great. Check it, and if you guys see an error, just shoot me a message, so I can do remove the video and do a better one. Okay, so that is multiplying decimals, and not to forget the rules of signs still apply. So for example, if this was a negative times a positive, obviously my answer would be a negative. And if these were two negative decimals, that these two factors would be a positive. So the rules of sign is always at play. All right, so next will be division.